Yeah, let's get into the rules, not just registration
Let's
stuff.
go. Let's get there.
But the actual
Start this episode.
stuff, tough stuff. So here we go. Now we're talking rules. Let's start right here in section 3, man. Highlighted. So if you guys go to the BOS website, one of the nice things they did with the changes is they highlighted the changes in, is that orange, yellow? I don't know. I'm old. I can't tell what color that is.
BOS orange.
BOS orange.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There you go. So the changes are in orange. So we're going to start right there in section 3, off limits, practice, and competition. We did a poll on KBN a while back asking like the most popular suggestions for rule changes, and off limits periods and boundaries / launches was the two big ones, and we're going to get to all that. But first up here in section 3, off limits, practice, and competition. And this is a little misleading to me. It says tournament off limits period and restrictions will begin 21 days before the event begins. But it's really not 21 days, is it?
Well, if you
Well, it
include
begins
practice
21
as the
days.
event,
What? What did
Yeah.
you say, Jay?
it does begin 21 days
It
prior. to the
begins
tournament.
21 days prior.
Will begin 21 days.
It's not
That's
a
what I mean.
21. It's not a 21 day off limits period.
So I think
It
there's a lot of
begins
confusion
21.
on that, on the
Yeah.
wording on that.
Yeah.
Well,
That sounds-
it says begins 21.
14-day period. 21 days.
Yeah.
before
Days. It's
the
really a
event.
14
day.
day.
Yeah, I think that would probably help in the whoever types in yellow if they put if they put 14-day off just to clear up with hard numbers there.
Yeah.
there's
That
no
question is
confusion.
1,000% going to be called to AJ a million times this season.
The more
yeah.
AJ has to answer that question, the more likely he is to reword it.
Yeah, because all you see is 21. You see the number 21. You don't see the word begin, Jay.
Yeah,
It's just
no.
21 days.
I know. Yeah,
You know, we're selective around in these
I
parts.
understand.
So 2-week off limit period, and then basically a what was that 7-day, 6-day practice period, official practice period, which we've all been pining for. What do y'all think about those changes? That's big.
It's we've never had an off limits period in this trail before. I know a lot of people would prefer 3 days. I think I would probably prefer 3 days, but I'm glad that we have an off limits where it used to just be wide open. I mean, you'd hear
Why'd you
stories
go-
about guys going to a lake and hauling their camper down there, and they'd wear it out for 3-4 weeks at a time. So, you take me, for example, a tournament on Kentucky Lake, just a few hours down the road. I'd be there 2 weekends before, 3 weekends before. I'd be going out there every spare minute I had, and I'm sure that happened a lot on everybody's local waters. Oh, the Hobie event's coming in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, and you start beating it up as much as you can. So I'm happy with a little bit of off limits that we've got. Is it perfect? Maybe not.
That's why
But,
the Moors went downhill, Jay. I'll go ahead and tell you that.
Well, I bought Matthew Scotch a lot of dinners over there at the Moors. He enjoys their chicken tenders and tater tots. Yeah.
I think what a lot of people have overlooked is that 21-day period also prevents people from not fishing 14 days prior. But that entire 3-week period is no boats, no guides, none of that stuff. So you can't come even the weekend before with your boat or hire a guide, since official practice started Monday in previous seasons. So the weekend before, you're not on the water with a guide, or the 3 weeks leading up to it, you're not on the water on a boat and flying around the lake and getting all your waypoints. So it kind of, in that sense, balances out on the national level.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a big fan of the 21 days, and like Jay, I'll second that. I'm a fan of the 3 day. I think we'll get there. I think we'll get to that point. I just think they can't make that many changes from year to year. I think it's like a work in progress, but I think it gives the people that can't take as much time off the weekend before to go and practice if they're within reach, and then allows enough time where there's not everybody, like you said, Jay, there for 3 weeks on end before the event.
Yeah. I wrote in my notes that they were dipping their toe. That's kind of what it felt like with this. Like Bailey said, kind of easing into what may be a more strict practice period moving forward to see how this goes with, a baseline this season. Maybe,
Test the water.
hopefully. Yeah.
What do you think, Luck?
What are we talking about?
Huh?
Just tuning in here, guys. No, I'm just.
He's watching his turkeys march around outside.
No, I think it's
Can you repeat the question?
Peyote's a hell of a drug.
they know how to grow it here out there on the res too. I've been doing it for years, way before all the cool kids. But no, I think it's a good idea. I mean, having a time slot where you don't feel like you're people that are far away, like Bailey coming to Broken Bow or something like that, and I'm out there just hitting it on a boat, going, to every spot I can. I think it's good. It kind of evens the playing field and makes it more elite status. Within reason.
Yeah, Ryan and I used to fly up and down Chickamauga on his boat, and boy, it really helped us.
Really
on that
paid
last
off,
tournament.
didn't it? Damn, that was a hell of a
Oh
time.
yeah, what an advantage we had.
I'll stand on the outside of the circle. I'm upset that it's 7 days. Like, if you're making a rule change and you're actually making a rule to affect something, I think 7 days or 6 days, however you want to cut it up, is too much. Like, honestly, I wish if we were going to do this, like, hey, we're trying to actually make a change and see some difference here. People camping for a week or 2 weeks or whatever on this body of water because it's legal to do. Like, I think that still leaves the door open for a lot of, people coming in, and we saw it on Susky specifically. There was 100 or so people in town the week before just beating that river all to hell. And when it came to tournament day, they wouldn't go. I mean, it's not like they were beating up their water. They were going to fish like they were out, just doing 12-mile river floats, catch as many fish as they can. Like, there's a lot of strategy and, ramp watching and a lot of things that happen in those time periods. And I think, I'm not saying having the lake off limits for that entire period of time. Honestly, I think if you're going to have 6 days of pre-fishing, you bust it up into 3-day blocks. You can choose the first 3 days or the second 3 days. And I know, how do you police this? How do we police anything in kayak fishing? You don't. I mean,
Sure.
it's pretty much. I think
drones.
we need to
We're
implement
going to drones, Ryan. That's what we're doing.
I think we need to implement more polygraphs, but I think people sign up on a list. It's visible, it's public. You see who's on the list for, let's say, Saturday through Monday or Sunday through Tuesday, whatever it is. You see who's on that list. If you see them out there Wednesday through Friday, you report it. I mean, like, it's not a perfect system, but I would much rather see us go to a 3-day pre-fishing format. 3D too. I want to see it in real life where you can turn it around. But I think that's the move, and I don't understand the reluctancy from the TDs on this. Why wouldn't you do that? What's the con here?
Yeah, Dusty Yacker put 3 days as the rule he wanted to see implemented. Jason Willis says he thinks the majority of the field wanted 3-day practice periods, so he doesn't understand why they didn't go to that. Appealing to a small group over the majority.
Dude, we did polls on this. Like, this isn't a thing that was just made up that people wanted 3 days. We just sat here on this panel and went around, and everybody wanted 3 days. So if the field wants 3 days, then what's the point of not going to 3 days? I'm sorry that upsets me, but that's the one rule I really wanted to see implemented this year.
I like the 21 days. I don't like the 7 days. Even years past, the official practice period was Monday through Friday. And that's actually been extended where most of us wanted it to be reduced.
I have a question. I'm just not familiar with it, but
ask away, brother.
Did Bass have a 3-day or their official practice period was 3 days, right?
Yeah,
but they did
off. Yeah,
but they
Saturday
didn't actually have.
They had a Saturday through Tuesday dead period.
Yeah.
Okay, so you couldn't be on the water those days.
You couldn't come in and
That's
camp
right.
the whole week. Like, you could be in town or whatever, ride ramps, but you couldn't be on the water.
Could be in. Okay.
You cannot be on the water.
And we
Saturday,
don't have
Sunday,
published
Monday,
rules
Tuesday.
from Bass yet,
Okay.
so I don't want to act like we know exactly what.
Well,
the verbiage.
I know. I was just saying last year though, because I remember there being something about an official practice period, but I wasn't sure if there was an actual off limits before.
That's the thing. I think if Bass goes to this 7 or 6 day whatever, they've actually regressed in the target part of their rules. Like, I don't want to see them go backwards just for unity, so to speak. Like, I think what they had set up, I would have liked to seen a little more cutoff, even if it was 10 days before that practice period. But still, like, I mean, that was a pretty solid deal that they had going there.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Shane.
I was going to say same question as the All American Friday Saturday thing. If it seems like the vast majority are kind of on the same page with what they're wanting, have we kind of gotten the other side of uh, that reasoning from the tournament directors as for why it was decided to extend it?
I'm
not
seeing
cut out
some,
the weekenders, right, Jeff?
yeah, I'm
Jay
seeing some
and
comments
Shane?
in here, man. Various comments from YouTube and Facebook. And I want to address a couple because I'm like Ryan. When I first saw it, I was kind of pissed. My hope was like a Tuesday through Tuesday off limits, or longer, and then a 3-day official practice. And it's not because I've seen the comments on Facebook are like, oh, you guys are just hating because these people are winning and you're pissed off and you want to cut these people that are always cashing checks off. It has nothing to do with that. I think when you can offer anglers a level playing, as level as you can get it,
It's more
you know,
enticing.
3 days of practice, 2 days of practice. Would 200 people even get 3 days of practice? No, they would not. But the vast majority have a better chance of 2 or 3 days of practice than 7. So I think you always want to cater to the majority if you can. Then I saw some comments talking about municipalities and 7 days is better for me. Nobody's coming for. There's like a dozen people coming for 7 days.
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
maybe 20.
Yeah, true.
Well, and to that point, if there are only a dozen people coming for 7 days, then what's the big deal? If we're just talking about a few people who are coming for that for 7 days.
Yeah. It's
And
now the other side of that is I know personally anglers that cannot get off on Thursdays and Fridays very much. They drive down the weekend before to practice. That's when they practice.
Yep.
So
If
that
they're
7 days
close
really
enough.
helps them. So I get that. I get that side of it.
3 and 3.
I want to touch on what Ryan said about, in particular, the Susky, but it happens everywhere. But having that longer window, we saw so many anglers on the Susky that found their spot, found their little stretch they liked early in the week, and spent the rest of the week very vocally destroying each spot they could, that they knew they weren't going to be in. They would catch every fish and soil up as many areas as they could the rest of the week leading up to the tournament. That was their strategy. And, that's whatever. We can discuss that at length another time. But I think the 3-day would have kind of made anglers focus more on finding their spots instead of being able to do that earlier and spend the rest of the time.
Yeah, and the
Maybe.
time limitation, I don't think it's about dialing in a certain color of crankbait or something. It's about searching for more water.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that another rule we're going to talk about may kind of mitigate that anyway. For it may make that just fine because you're not going to be able to necessarily search for a creek 45 miles off the main lake anymore. We'll get to that in a minute, but the extended time, I think it's more about searching for water than it is searching for a magic bait or color or something like that.
Long story short, I don't think that rule solved anything. I don't think it added
That's
to
fair.
to the sport.
Yeah.
I like
there
the
we go.
off limits. I just wish it were longer.
So there we
Toward
go.
the
Maybe we need to do another poll. I can't do a poll on this live stream thing and see what everybody that's watching. We're up to like 150 people watching. I'd like to hear what they think. Most in the comments say 3, although several are saying, hey, the Bassmaster Opens get 5. We're in kayaks. We need a few more days because we can't cover as much water as a bass boat.
But
That's true.
We had Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
That was 5. We extended it.
Yeah. So
I guess to cover the weekend, but
yeah, 7 days. I like the move is something, and as one of you guys said, maybe it's just a dip and a toe in the water, and we'll see where we go from there after this year. So I like that there's some off limits at least now.